Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the GIPC LMI Holdings webinar on connecting FDIs to the center of the world. I will be your moderator for today, and my name is Richard Edu-Ejapong. You could call me Richard. I am the liaison relations for LMI Holdings, and I'm happy to have an expert panel with me for today's program. We've started at 10 o'clock, and we will be with you for the next hour and a half. So we'll finish at 11:30 Ghana time, GMT. Yeah, so that's when we will be done. So basically, what we are doing today is to see how to attract FDIs, foreign direct investments, into the center of the world. What do we mean by the center of the world here? The center of the world, geographically speaking, the Greenwich Meridian passes right through Tema, that is Ghana, a city in Ghana, West Africa, and it's just a little bit above the equator. So when you zoom in, you realize that geographically speaking, we could claim to have the location of the center of the world from this side of the globe. So we are trying to see how to attract investors, how to attract, connect foreign direct investment into this beloved place called Ghana. That's the center of the world. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this webinar. On our panel today, we have 4 experts who would be sharing their expert views and facts and figures with us with regards to connecting FDIs to the center of the world. It's a well-blended expert panel comprising of 4 key speakers and panelists. And then before we commence, I would like to lay down the ground rules. Please, I would suggest you put your phones on silent and you mute your microphones. And if you have any questions, if you have anything, you can put them in the chat section. You can utilize the chat section, and then you can type in your questions there. We will take all the questions, and then our experts panelists will address them. If you want to address specific questions to specific panelists, you can also let us know. And then that aside, you can also tweet at UKGCC and then also post on some of your questions there. That will be ideal. And then you can also raise your hand when it gets to the Q&A section for us to commence, to ask you to state your question. So without wasting much time, please, I would let my august panelists introduce themselves, a short intro, who they are, what they do, and their role, what they will be talking about today, I will be discussing today. So let me begin with Dr. John-Hawkins, Asiedu from the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Doc, please, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Doc, and good morning, our cherished listeners. My name is John-Hawkins Asiedu, a technical advisor at the Ministry of Trade and Industry in charge of industrial parks and special economic zones. So this morning, I'm going to take you through why the need for special economic zones, what needs to be done to be able to attract investments, and what is it in for Ghana at this time of our development agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc. I can't wait to hear that. Thank you very much. All right, so we move on to the next panelist, and that's Madame Evelyn Nyarko. So Madame Nyarko, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good morning, fellow ladies and gentlemen. My name is Evelyn Nyarko, and I'm with the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. My division is the Investor Services Division, and I've been in the facilitation of investments for the past 8 years, the past 13 years. And today, I would want us to look into the kind of FDIs we have attracted over the years and which sectors that these FDIs have gone into, and why the need for industrial parks and economic zones for the industrialization agenda of Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you Thank you very much, Madam Nyarko. Thank you very much. Sounds pretty great and exciting. So we move on to the third panelist, and that is Mr. Anthony Ameka. That's the president of the Ghana Chamber of Pharmaceutical Companies. So please, Mr. Ameka, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, cherished listeners and viewers. My name is Anthony Ameka, the CEO of Ghana National Chamber of Pharmacy. I've been in this sector for the past 18 years. I may say within the health sector. And then in the Africa perspective, I've been a board member for Africa Pharmaceutical Distribution Association for 2 consecutive times. That's almost 4 years now. Pharmaceuticals is currently looking at expanding in terms of production, because as we are all aware, about 33% of what we consume in terms of medicine is what is produced locally. So almost 67% is imported into the country. And learning from the experiences from COVID, this is the time for us to look at how we could manufacture locally to feed the citizenry and then also beyond. So I'll be sharing with you reasons for going into the industrial park, or why we are into partnership with LMI Holdings to expand pharmaceutical production in Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ameka. Thank you. And we look forward to hearing your exciting and interesting contribution to it. So we have our last but not the least panelist, and that is Dr. Richmond Frimpong. He's the MD for the Land Holdings Group of LMI. So please, Sir Frimpong, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Richard. My name is Richmond Kwame Frimpong, and I lead the land development arm of the LMI Holdings Group. Basically, for us, our interest is in developing industrial parks, particularly in these times of special economic zones. And in the last 20 years plus, our focus has been on 2 critical industrial park infrastructures in Ghana. One is Ghana's foremost industrial park in Tema, called the Meridian Industrial Park in the Free Zones Enclave. And we are the majority developers of that park, 70% of same. And currently we are the sole developer of the largest private industrial park in Ghana, which is called the Dawa Industrial Zone. Our focus is to contribute to pooling as much as we can FDIs through the industrialization agenda of government of Ghana, and that of the continental free trade through industrialization and the provision of industrial parks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richmond. Thanks for being a panelist. To all our panelists. Now it behoves on me, and I have the singular honor of introducing the seminar, the webinar. So please, we know that since the turn of the last 2 decades, foreign direct investments, that is FDI flows between economies, have soared along with economic globalization. Developing countries, emerging economies, as well as transition nations have increasingly come to acknowledge FDI not only as a source of economic development and modernization, but also as a veritable vehicle for income growth and employment. Thus, they no longer view it with suspicion, that is, as a medium of either neo-imperialism or neo-recolonization. Consequently, rigid regimes and counterproductive controls that once restricted the easy entry and smooth operations of multinational firms are now being substituted for FDI-friendly policies and programs. Interestingly, in 2012, and for the first time in history, developing countries received the lion's share of world FDI at 52%. This was a breakthrough in FDI flows, reaching this group of countries. That is, this is coming from the OECD in 2014 report. There is thus the recurring calls for industrialization through FDI attraction because of its potential to promote economic diversification, inclusive growth, efficient resource utilization, and hence structural transformation. At the end of this program, at the end of this webinar, these are the things that we aim to have achieved. Those are the objectives. We will try to analyze the sector-based FDI inflows into Ghana and then level of industrialization achieved so far. Also, we will also highlight and discuss FDI's contributions to Ghana's industrialization agenda. And then we also seek to achieve some of the challenges, to know some of the challenges faced by investors and businesses in acquiring public or state lands for infrastructure and development. So these are some of the things that we aim to achieve by the end of this webinar. We also aim to explore opportunities available in industrial parks for investors and brokers, and also to provide an open platform for questions, discussions, and the sharing of knowledge. So these are the objectives for us as we speak and as we commence this. Talking about brokers, let me put in a quick one here for all of us. There is all interested participants who want to make good income by promoting and selling industrial lands at DIZ and the Meridian Industrial Park can just go on to the www.diz-ghana.com website and then fill and send, download a form, fill and send to enquiry@diz-ghana.com. That's just for some of the opportunities that's available for us here. So without wasting much time, it is my honor to call upon Dr. John-Hawkins Asiedu to commence with the initial presentation for us. So Doc, the floor is all yours. And please, all audience and guests, if you have any questions, please feel free to utilize the chat room here so that you can leave your questions there. And then we will address them as soon as the Q&A part begins. So please, Doc, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Doc. Our cherished audience and viewers, Ghana's industrial transformation agenda make Ghana one of the industrial hubs in the sub-region and by extension in Africa as a whole. The development of zones have become more liberal through the years. In the 1960s, they were called export processing. In the 70s, the name changed to, and in the 90s, it changed to free ports. And in the 20th century, now, what is in the agenda is the development of special economic zones. Special economic zones are special industrial policy instruments used by various governments to attract investments. By definition, they are demarcated geographical areas that function with administrative, infrastructure, regulatory, and in some cases, fiscal incentives that are distinct from those existing in the domestic economy. Special economic zones are also viewed as part of the strategic instrument to expedite Africa's industrialization, as well as regional integration, supporting the vision of creating one African market under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. The purpose of the Industrial Transformation Agenda for Government of Ghana is to support the diversification of the Ghanaian economy through private sector special economic zones development, and also to reduce the country's dependency on crude oil and cocoa exports, to improve the delivery of high quality physical infrastructure and energy in the SEZs, expanding investment and trade opportunities in the country, which will help us increase foreign directs, diaspora, and national investment strategic sectors. It will also promote inclusive economic growth and confronting extreme poverty, creating enhanced job opportunities for low, semi, and high-skilled Ghanaian workers, and also to improve the labor productivity of Ghana's workers through focused training and learning programs. In addition, it's also to enhance business conditions for local suppliers to participate in regional and global value chains, streamlining the business facilitation process and piloting reforms, including energy, infrastructure, migration, labor, environment, business registration, and access to finance improvements on a targeted zone-by-zone basis before applying such reforms on a countrywide level. Making the most of ideas for development, Ghana's industrial policy, Ghana's manufacturing sector thrives on the back of financial stability and openness to investors. Building on several years of robust growth in the sector, Ghana has launched a multi-phase program aimed at increasing its industrial capacity and output. This wave of new initiatives is designed to strengthen the investment environment for manufacturing and boost the value-added component of the country's manufactured products. While challenges remain, notably in terms of taxation and insolvency regulation, these efforts could be said to increase the contribution of the non-oil sector to overall growth and support sustainable diversification. In June 2017, the government under his leadership, President Adodankwa Akufo-Addo, unveiled the Industrial Transformation Agenda, which seeks to make Ghana the most business-friendly nation in Africa to accelerate socio-economic development. Significantly, the 10-point program emphasizes private sector-driven development and attracting FDI. It also emphasizes that Ghana should build on its existing competitive advantages, including its political stability, location, security, legal system to foster development. And here are the 10-point initiatives that government is implementing. We have the One District, One Factory initiative, facilitating access to medium and long-term financing, also term stimulus package, industrial park and special economic zones, also one region, one park. We also have the strategic anchor industrial initiatives, small and medium scale enterprises, export trade development and diversification program, improving domestic retail trade, regulatory and legislative reforms, industrial subcontracting and partnership exchange, and the last being promoting public-private sector dialogues. And we all recall last week that we held the first presidential business summit, which is part of this dialogue that I'm talking about. The One District, One Factory initiative is a key component of the industrial transformation agenda of government and is designed to set up at least one medium to large-scale industrial enterprise in each of the districts in the country. Enterprises are to fundamentally impact on the economics of the districts. What are the objectives? To create massive employment, particularly for the youth in rural and pre-urban communities, thereby improving upon their income levels and standard of living. It's also to add value to the natural resource of each district and exploit the economic potential of each district based on its comparative advantage. To ensure even and spatial spread of industry and thereby stimulate economic activity and growth in different parts of the country. And to promote exports and increase foreign exchange earnings to support government's development agenda. The industrial parks and special economic zones, what are the nature and scope? It's envisioned for industrialization and economic transformation, paving the way for the creation of quality jobs, higher incomes, and poverty reduction. At least one large park in all the 16 regions of Ghana. Purely private sector-led initiative with government provided enabling environment. Participation of private sector and multinational companies, corporations for industrial development, and addressing the challenges assessing litigation, freelance, and other infrastructure required for industrial development. And then also it's supposed to complement to other industrialization initiative programs like the 1D1F strategic anchor industries. Ladies and gentlemen, the industrial parks and special economic zones are very important because as lessons learned from other countries, they bring in a lot of investment and other incentives that I will enumerate. But as we speak, in the year 2020, there are over 5,400 special economic zones in 147 countries. And Africa is not left out. We have a lot of special economic zones in Morocco, in Egypt, in Nigeria, and the only zone that we can boast of in Ghana now is the Tema Enclave. Special economic zones also attracts foreign investments. It helps to create employment and facilitate better matching of workers to jobs. It brings in foreign exchange earnings and helps to increase our export growth. And then reduction in transportation costs, goods, inputs, outputs, and people because of the common user of facilities in the industrial site. It also facilitates technology transfer, ideas, and knowledge sharing, and it propels backward and forward domestic linkages and regional development. What are the policy objectives of this special industrial park initiative that government is pursuing? Is to develop an effective industrial land banks, acquisition and security systems at national, regional, and district levels to facilitate easy zone enclave planning for industrial development. It's also to promote special distribution of industrial development for job creation in order to achieve reduction in poverty and income inequalities, to improve access to litigation-free land and access to utility services while spreading economic activities across the country, to provide an institutional framework, modern services and infrastructure systems that may not be available in the rest of the country to foster development economic activities, and then also to encourage industrial cluster formation for networking and spillover effects. The one region, one park will take the following form: a multi-purpose industrial park or special economic zone for 2 or more sectors. And we have sector specific. It can be pharmaceuticals, textiles, or automobile. And as we have seen, with the introduction of automobile assembly plants in Ghana, there is a need to have industrial lands where these factories will start producing components that will be used to manufacture those vehicles. In Ghana now, we have the strategic location of industrial park and special economic zones. Notably, we have the Tamale Industrial Park in the Northern region, which is undeveloped. We have the Greater Kumasi Industrial City Industrial Park, a 5,000-acre land, which is under development. We have the Secondary Export Processing Zone in the Western region, also under development. We have the Shama Industrial Zone in the Western region, under development, and we are searching for investors. We also have the Apollonia City, which is ongoing. We have the Dawa Industrial Park City, which is a 2,000-acre land and very close to Tema, where we already have anchor tenants operating within this zone. The government's own, we have the Tema Export Processing Zone in the Greater Accra, which is a 2,000-acre land, and just a few kilometers away from the port. We also have the Silicon Valley Park, used a 60-acre, and development have started with private sector. We also have the Bangu Industrial Park earmarked at the Novel region. So there are investment opportunities in petrochemicals, iron and steel, integrated bauxite and aluminum, industrial chemicals, including industrial salt, pharmaceuticals, vehicle assembly, garments and textiles, agribusiness, for example, vegetable oil and fats, industrial starch, machinery and equipment manufacture. Under the Strategic Anchor Industry Initiative, The initiative is to drive Ghana's industrial landscape along certain anchor industries. This industrial development will center on certain products of our daily use: automobile assembly and component manufacture, manufacturing, garment and textile, petrochemicals, chemical industries based on industrial salt, caustic soda or chlorine, cassava-based industrial starch, and the oils. What is in for our economic zones development in relation to the African Continental Free Trade? The African Continental Free Trade Agreement supports the establishment and operation of special economic zones for the purpose of accelerating its development. Special economic zones are, in fact, one of the main devices to advance the objectives of the African Continental Free Trade Area in driving sustainable economic growth, uplifting trade integration, enhancing competitiveness, and promoting industrial investment, as well as job creation. And what are the opportunities? It enhances industrial diversification, enhance bilateral cooperation with other African special economic zones, attract new non-African investment, accelerate exports to other African countries, and attract new African investment. Under the National Institutional Framework for Implementation of the African Continental Free Trade, as part of Ghana's strategic arrangements, the following structures have been put in place. We have an interministerial committee, which is made up of the following government agencies: the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of National Security, Minister of Justice, and Attorney General. And these ministries coordinate efforts to make sure that Ghana harnesses the full advantage of this continental free trade. At the national institutional level, a National AFTA Coordinating Office has been established under the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and is to liaise between the government, stakeholders, and the AFTA Secretariat. It's also to provide Ghanaian private sector with a one-stop facilitation and formation for effective decision-making and participation in trading, and to coordinate support for implementing a coherent national action plan for boosting intra-African trade. And then the steering committee of this trade, also made up of relevant institutions that have come out with a work plan to implement a 7-point cluster area development agenda, which will help Ghana enhance its participation in this new agreement. And the 7 components are in trade policy, trade facilitation, trade-related infrastructure, enhancing productive capacity, trade information, trade and development finance, and factor market integration. Ladies and gentlemen, neglect of labor and environmental standards by firms due to rising regional competition can be a challenge. Also, the heterogeneity of the market size and characteristics of market regulations will make implementation of such actions very cumbersome. But if we want to attract the needed investment, then we need to remove all the obstacles and hurdles and make our regulations business friendly. We must remove all the bureaucracy. And then under the industrial park special economic challenges, currently zones face a variety of barriers that impact on their performance. Informal trade barriers and non-trade barriers, infrastructure, procedures and borders are classified as the main obstacles. Similarly, yes.
Yeah, Doc, please, just a quick reminder, please. You have about 5 minutes more. Yes.
Oh, I'll be done in less than that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Similarly, several factors are perceived to hinder FDI to zones, such as infrastructure and availability of skilled labor, lack of information on investment opportunities, regulatory and administrative barriers. Ladies and gentlemen, if we talk about the Dawa Industrial Park as it stands now, it's very close to our port city, and the zone is putting up the necessary infrastructure that will help attract all investments. And the same way the government is trying to develop the Greater Kumasi Industrial City Enclave with the provision of on and off-site infrastructure, which will make it attractive to investors. Without this needed infrastructure, no investor would like to come in to invest in these areas. So in conclusion, Ghana has shown that by dropping the dogma around free market policy, making manufacturing a bipartisan cause, and using the government as a problem-solving machine for business, African countries can create jobs and attract investment into industry. For the investors to come, unlike some of the zones that has become white elephants, we need to put in the necessary infrastructure, send in the necessary utilities, make it business friendly, and with this, we are sure to attract the needed investors to these zones. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you very much for taking a lot of notes and reserving questions also for that. I know now from what you just, from your presentation, that we have about 5,477 globally. There are 5,400 and plus special economic zones globally, and then Ghana is not left out. And then there are also new ones that I'm learning from you today. So please, to everyone here, please, every question that you have, you can put it in the chat. You can click on chat and then you type your question there for us. But I would want us to wrap up the presentations and then we commence the discussions and the Q&A together. So let me just chip one in here as we wait for Madam Nyarko to commence. Doc, talking about the special economic zones and talking about that, you have it as a key agenda to support economic diversification of Ghanaian economy through what? Private and public sector partnerships. You mentioned about the 5,000 plus acres in Greater Kumasi. Is that public or private? One.
That is going to be a public-private partnership arrangement.
Okay. Okay, so that's a public-private partnership arrangement.
Yes.
And talking about all these plans and industrialization thing, now it's 2020.
Yes.
5 years from now, will we still be talking? What will be the trend? What will we be talking about?
You know, for any initiative to take shape, what investors, the private sector always look at is the country having a policy document that directs this initiative. Yes. So to do that, the ministry is spearheading the development of a special economic zone industrial park policy document. When this is developed, it will direct, it will identify and bring out the necessary incentives that investors will have access to, which will make it possible and guaranteed their existence within these parks. And with that, hopefully, we'll get the needed investment into these parks.
Thank you very much. I'll rest my case here. There are more questions that I've jotted down. We give other people the chance to also type in their questions. Thank you. So you will rest your case now, Doc, and we move on to Madam Nyarko from the GIPC. So Madam Nyarko, please, the floor is yours.
Yes, so good morning. At least Dr. Asiedu has made my work a bit easier. And so there are some portions of my slide I would skip as I speak because Dr. Asiedu has said most of it. So I start with my outline. Can you see the screen?
Yes, please, we can.
Okay, all right, that's good. So for today's presentation, I'm going to talk about the mandate of GIPC. I believe most of you know, but probably we'll have some people who do not know. So I'll talk briefly about that. In terms of why Ghana, I will skip it because I believe a lot of you know about it. If there's the need for me to come back to it, I'll do that. I would also try to skip business opportunities, but I would want to zoom on FDI attracted since 1994 and see which sectors are really being attracted and why we need this in the industrial zones. And then I would also talk about requirements and some incentives that accrue to investors. So the GIPC is the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. It's a government agency established under Act 865 to promote, coordinate, and facilitate investment in Ghana. It's been in existence since the mid-1960s. And some of our functions are investment advisory services, registration of projects, processing of quotas and exemptions, doing a joint venture facilitation for Ghanaians and other countries, renewing projects that are registered in Ghana. We also identify specific projects for investment promotion. So sometimes ministries, agencies have projects that they want investment into, so we do that for them as well. And we monitor enterprises within the country to ensure that they comply with the GIPC Act. As part of our functions also, we grant incentives and provide investor support. Can you go to please? Dr. Asiedu made mention of some importance of industrial parks as ensuring technology transfer agreements. And GIPC does this registration for the technology transfer agreements based on an airline that we use. And through this technology transfer agreements registration and monitoring, we are able to also enhance the financial flow of foreign exchange into the country. And because we deal with companies that are from different countries, we also negotiate bilateral investment treaties with them as well. And GIPC spearheads this with other ministries and agencies. And we facilitate incoming and outgoing missions as well. So if companies are coming in to invest or they want to do exploratory missions, we do that on their behalf as well. We assist. Currently, we also are doing some sensitization programs within the region because the people are of the view that GIPC is for foreign companies. And at this point, I want to reiterate that GIPC is for both foreign and Ghanaian companies. And it will interest you to know that most of the incentives we are even offered to investors, most of them are Ghanaian companies as well. And we do a lot of coordination activity with our stakeholders. Some of the institutions we collaborate with in Ghana are the Ghana Free Zones Authority, the Minerals Commission, Petroleum Commission, Ghana Export Promotion, Environmental Protection Agency, Bank of Ghana, ministries, Registrar General's Department, the Ghana Immigration Service, and then the Association of Ghana Industry and the Chamber of Mines and Private Enterprise Foundation. These are all stakeholders in the investment promotion process. And so we engage with all of them in diverse ways to ensure that everything moves on for us. Now, I would, like I said before, I'm going to skip the sections of the presentation. If there's a need for us to talk about it later in the Q&As, we'll do that. So I'll move to the slide that talks about the minimum equity requirement. And the reason why I would want to talk about this is the fact that in 2013, when the GIPC Act was reviewed, there were certain exemptions for the minimum equity requirements. Let me give a brief about the minimum equity requirement. Usually, if companies are investing in Ghana and there's foreign direct investment or there's a foreign shareholder, the foreign shareholder is supposed to bring in some amount of foreign exchange. And this amount of foreign exchange is supposed to be a percentage of the shares in the company. And as much as possible, because we encourage joint venture go back. Because we encourage joint venture with companies, the minimum equity requirement for a joint venture with a Ghanaian is $200,000, and for wholly foreign is $500,000. So as much as we encourage joint ventures, we also allow for companies to have 100% foreign shareholding. What I wanted to highlight here is the exemptions that were in the provision. And in the exemptions, we realized that manufacturing and export trade enterprises featured in it. And the reason for this was to buttress the industrialization agenda of government and to ensure that companies that are going into industrial production do not have to be involved or entangled with meeting this minimum equity requirement, because after all, the nature of their businesses will actually cause them to invest more than even the minimum that we state. So this slide talks about some registered projects at the GIPC since 1994 to June 2021. And well, this one is from 2013 rather, and we realized that from 2013, since the Act came in until now, we have registered about 1,688 projects. Now, in this 1,688 projects, we realized that the highest was in services, which was 525. But second to that is manufacturing, which is 430. And we get the sense that at least we are making an effort in attracting the manufacturing sector into the economy. And whilst we do this, we realize the need for industrial parks and all that. So in subsequent slides, I will talk about what the GIPC and other agencies, including the Ministry of Trade, have been doing. Here, I tried to do an analysis of the top FDI sources by country. And on the left side, we see the FDIs by country in 2020, and the right side, it gives us FDI by country from 94 to 2019. And we realized that for the 2020, the highest FDI came from China, and it was followed by the United Kingdom, and then Australia, then South Africa, Netherlands. And then for 94 to 2019, we realized that the highest was Netherlands, and the United Kingdom was still, it followed closely at the second place, and then the other countries also followed. In terms of the number of projects as against FDI, now this slide, you realize that for this particular table or graph, the blue ones signifies the number of projects, and then the colored ones are the FDIs. And we see the highest, which is the yellow, being that of Netherlands, and the second one, which is the highest of the orange bars, being for United Kingdom. And then you realize the highest projects at the time being China with the red bar, which is 885. And then the next was 737 by India. But one striking thing that we will see here is that the country with the highest FDI ended up with not so much of projects, but you realize that the value is high. And that seeks to say that it means that with those with the highest FDI values probably are investing in some projects that demand more investment or that are more capital intensive than those that have a lot of numbers. And in this slide, we try to do a percentage analysis in terms of projects and FDI. And so the blue represents the projects and the colored ones are for the FDI. And like I said before, services though had 28%, about 28.6% of projects registered, which was the highest, ended up with an FDI figure that was rather the third. And you see manufacturing was 24.6% in terms of number of projects registered, but in terms of FDI percentage, it was 34.6. And then what you realize the second one, which was in terms of FDI, 27% was in building and construction. And these are sectors that are more capital intensive. And for this industrial agenda, the idea is to be able to attract FDI in these capital intensive sectors as well. So far, based on the manufacturing companies that we have registered, the top 20 activities in that sector since 1994 to January 2021 has been in the power sector. So you realize that the power sector has an investment of over 2.5 billion. And it's followed by rail sector, and in the rail estate is the materials, and we come to ceramics and allied products. We see cement and cement bags also featuring in the steel, and allied products are also featuring. Gold refinery and manufacturing is there, and then bottled water is also somewhere at the 16th position. And we also see a lot of aluminum extractions also, and then the beverages as well are also featuring. Briefly, I wanted to highlight the importance of industrial parks in FDI attraction. And here we realize that with the presence of industrial parks, it reduces any form of complications that go with land acquisition, because usually these industrial parks are litigation-free lands, and so investors would have the peace of mind to go about their work. And it also offers a seamless means of setting up businesses, so you have easy access to utility services and other social amenities. And it allows for efficient allocation of businesses in the countries. And this stems from the deliberate siting of industrial parks, which ensures equitable distribution of industrial and economic activities. And these points will be highlighted in my next slide. In terms of government's industrialization agenda, industrial parks are key, especially for anchor industries and the 1D1F policies. So to ensure that companies who want to go into these industrial kind of operations are safe, okay, and have easy access to these things, we, like Dr. Asiedu initially said, the Ministry of Trade and Industry is developing at least one industrial park in all the 16 regions. And there's strong encouragement of the private sector, of which LMI Holdings has already spearheaded that. And then also free zones and the GIPC on their own have also acquired some lands in Ashanti and Western regions to also help towards this industrial park agenda. At this point, I would want to talk about some incentives that companies that want to go into these kind of investments have to, they enjoy. Now, the law of Ghana and the constitution of the country protects all investments in the country against expropriation. And so there's no point in time where a change in government will cause anybody or any investor to lose their investments. Also, those in manufacturing and those in other industrial kind of businesses are able to apply for exemptions from custom duty on plant and machinery and equipment, mainly for their operations. Now also the law allows for full expatriation of dividends and profits that accrue from investments of investors. And this can be done after all the necessary taxes have been paid on them.
Madam Nyarko, please, just a quick
transfer
reminder.
of funds. Sorry, Dr. Japan.
Please, just a quick reminder, about 4 minutes more, so please.
Sure, I'll be wrapping up soon. Thank you. Yeah, so there's also the easy transfer of funds in respect of servicing loans or foreign loans that were taken for the businesses as well. And in times of liquidation, companies, after going through all the processes, can transfer the rest of their funds. Though we always hope that we'll try as much as possible to give you the environment that would help you to ensure that you stay in the country for a longer time. And in terms of manufacturing, agro-processing, companies enjoy some locational incentives. The current corporate tax for companies is 25%, but if you are in the agro-processing industry, for the first 5 years, you pay 1% when you start operation, and then after the operation, based on where you are located, you pay a graduated amount. So for those in Accra and Tema, they pay 20%. Those in other regional capitals, except the northern part of the country, they pay 15%. And then those outside regional capitals pay 10%, and the 5 northern regions pay 5%. This table shows other kinds of activities in the sector that also enjoy some concessionary rates. And they have diverse, different years they operate on the concessional rate of paying just 1% for 10 years or 5 years, depending on which sector they operate in. Those in tree crop farming, they do get the 1% for 10 years. Cash crops get a 1% for 5 years. And income from a cocoa byproduct business, you pay 1% for 5 years. And then those in waste processing also pay 1% for 7 years. In the event of your operation as well, companies also enjoy some loss carry forward options, just in case, like in the first 5 or 3 years of operations, you are not able to make profits, you're able to carry your losses ahead, though we try as much as possible to ensure that you make profits even from day one of your operation. There are also provisions for strategic investment incentives where companies who are investing over 50 million are able to negotiate for some incentives between GIPC and the Ministry of Finance. At this point, I'll bring my presentation to an end and then wait for the Q&A section. If there is any further questions or issues, we can trash it out from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Nyarko. Thank you for your interesting presentation. I have a lot of questions, but let me just chip in one from someone here. The person is from, let me scroll up a bit. This is from Victor Kujo. And Victor Kujo is from Hydronomics Limited. And he wants to know that what are the processes that one needs to go through to identify and select projects from GIPC in order to woo investors into the country. So that's from Victor Kujo. So I would chip in this one and then hold on with the rest for the Q&A session. So Madam Nyarko, what are the processes that one needs to go through to identify and select projects from you, the GIPC, in order to woo investors into the country?
Okay, great. So if I understand this question, I think he wants to talk about projects that we profile for investment promotion, right?
Yes, please.
Yeah, and for these ones, all Victor has to do is to write to GIPC, asking for all those projects that are out there that require investors. And based on that request, we will just respond to it and give him the list of all those projects and the ministries that he has to deal with and all the requirements that goes with it. And then from there, he can start working on getting investors on that.
Oh, okay, I see. So, right, asking for projects that have been earmarked for investors, and then you will link them up. So if I may ask, is this writing via email or by the traditional letter that needs to be delivered?
Currently, email is more preferable because of COVID. So I think email is better. So the request can go through info@gipc.gov.gh.
Okay, info@gipc.gov.gh.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, please. And how long was the response rate for us? Like maybe if you write, you get response in like 24 hours. Please, how long is?
So I think we are getting feedback. Okay, great. Yeah. So this one doesn't take long because it's already an information that we have. So as soon as you request for it, within 48 to 72 hours, you should get the response.
All right.
Except what you are asking for is specific to a particular industry and we don't have it, and we would have to liaise with our other institutions, and that is when it will take a while because that one becomes, it gets beyond our control. But the ones we have, it doesn't take long to respond to.
Okay, thank you. We will hold on for now and get ready for the Q&A session. Thank you very much, Madam Nyarko. We enjoyed it. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, as we're talking about connecting FDIs into to the center of the world, by center of the world, geographically speaking, we mean Ghana, because the Greenwich Meridian passes right through Ghana, and then Ghana is positioned just a little bit above the equator, so we can claim the center of the world position. So how do we do that? Anyway, we have an interesting partnership for brokers, and this is coming from the Dowa Industrial Zone. So it says all interested participants who want to make good income or by promoting and selling industrial lands at our industrial zone in the Meridian Industrial Park should kindly download the broker form from the www.diz-ghana.com website, and then you fill and send it to enquiry@diz-ghana.com email address, and our team will really reach out to you for some interesting broker deals as you keep on trying to attract in connecting investors to the center of the world. Now, Mr. Ameka is the CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Pharmaceutical Industries, and for Mr. Ameka, he's going to talk about how to help connect industries or investors or FDIs to the center of the world. Mr. Ameka, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And then good morning to your listeners and then viewers as well. And thanks for inviting the Ghana National Chamber of Pharmacy to this forum.
It's our pleasure, Mr. Ameka.
We are most grateful. Basically, if you look at the pharmaceutical sector, it's one of the 3 anchored strategic industries that has been identified by this government. And we are very appreciative for that. As I mentioned earlier on, about 33% of whatever medicine that we consume in Ghana are produced locally. So it means that about 67% of what we are consuming or more, what we are consuming are imported locally. So as the chamber, it became a concern for the chamber to look at what should be the way forward in terms of creating of jobs, in terms of improving our local consumption, and in terms of income generation and others. So we looked at establishing or encouraging most of our members to go into local manufacturing. So as I speak, about 16 companies have registered to move into the industrial zone at Dawa, some of which are already in the business, some are wholesalers that want to go into local manufacturing, and some are also into the manufacturing already. The chamber, basically, we are looking at companies that are small scale manufacturers and also the large scale manufacturers. We're also looking at the pharmaceutical importers and wholesalers association. And then we look at community pharmacists and then over-the-counter medicine sellers, as well as the multinational company. So the chamber serves as the umbrella of the pharmaceutical business sector. So it serves as a unified voice or a voice for the business sector of the pharmaceutical practice. Currently, we are looking at the world, that the global income or market by 2020, we are looking at $1.45 trillion in terms of the market. And then in Ghana, locally, we are currently at $589 million. But we are thinking that we will be able to do more if we are able to move into production of pharmaceuticals. By 2024, we are looking at $941 million in terms of market share for the pharmaceutical sector. For going into the DAWA, we see it as an opportunity because we're going to have a shared facilities at the DAWA enclave. And normally, if the systems or the enclave is well established, it also helps most of the companies that will go into the enclave to be able to get WHO GMP certification quick. Because you will not see a situation where a company is established producing medicine and behind the factory you see a poultry farm. Such does not actually encourage WHO certification on time. But with the situation at the DAWA, we see it as an opportunity for a smart business environment that will attract both foreign and local investors. Pharmaceutical Park is one of the specific parks that we are currently considering. And $321 million pharmaceutical park is to be established within the DAWA enclave in the Greater Accra region. This is to serve as one-stop shop for the developing, processing, and manufacturing of pharmaceutical products. In addition to this, we are also looking at the entire supply chain to be established over there, because as you produce, there will be a company or some companies also established for warehousing of raw materials and finished product. There will be logistics management, transportation, and other things. And probably establish a university or school that will train experts to feed the industry. Currently, we've engaged Kimati and partners, a legal firm, to also conduct a study for establishing a special purpose vehicle for the DAWA industrial zone. It can be a one common lab, it can be an independent pharmaceutical factory established, or it can be a common share of facilities and other things. What we, the pharma sector, are looking at currently is about 150 acres of land within the enclave. Already, we have signed an MOU with LMI Holdings for the 16 companies that want to go into the local manufacturing. As a result, the LMI Holding or the DAWA managers are currently constructing the drainage system, and then the road and other things within the farmer enclave at the zone. We know that we currently have also a dedicated power source within the enclave and a fully installed internet facility, with the expectation that we also get a police, customs, FDA, Ghana Standard Authority also established within the enclave to facilitate business at the enclave. The benefits we are looking at in this industrial zone has to do with access to smart business environment, leading to efficient and effective continuous operation of the companies. And as I indicated, it also facilitates in the acquisition of World Health Good Manufacturing Practices certificate on time. Business expenses are minimized by concentrating dedicated infrastructure within the industrial park. For instance, the space for storage, electricity, that's the power supplied, and high-end communications and large volume of water supplies. We also looking at less costs to have access to space compared to a typical commercial space. We are also looking at comparative advantage of proximity to labor, raw materials, and other factors of production. The enclave is also close to Accra, and then as well as the harbor, Tema Harbor. So access to raw materials from the harbor to the enclave, and then also finished product to from the enclave to the harbor for export will not be much of a challenge at all. The role of the chamber to attract investors has to do with re-signing the MOU, first of all, with the LMI Holdings to secure the space. And then also we have negotiated a rate with the LMI Holdings, which is far cheaper compared to any other company walking straight into the enclave for acquisition of land.
Mr. Ameka, please, just a quick reminder that we have 2 more minutes to wrap it up, sir.
Okay, thank you. It will be less than that. The Ghana National Chamber of Pharmacy, with support of FCDO, is also looking at how we could assist some of our members in terms of legal documentation and other things to be able to move into the enclave. So basically, that's what the Ghana National Chamber of Pharmacy is doing to be able to attract investors into the enclave. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ameka. Thank you very much. So, yes, so thank you very much, Mr. Ameka, for your wonderful presentation. Next will be Mr. Richmond Frimpong, who would have just a quick 5-minute one, and then we sum up almost all the questions that popped up here for our panelists to address. So, Mr. Ameka, what you're saying is that, as Dr. Asiedu mentioned, that SEZs are helping to propel our attracting investors into the place. You are saying that as a chamber of pharmacy, you think special economic zones are quite helpful to you, right?
Sure. Yeah, very helpful. And as I indicated earlier on, the drainage system and then the water supply, you know, we have some benchmarks that we have to meet to get the WHO certification for good manufacturing practices. And some of it includes good source of water, stability of electricity, the environment, and then the drainage system, sanitation, and all these are normally taken into account. So the enclave serves as one of the best for the pharmaceutical sector to move in for production.
All right. Thank you. Well, there are more questions, but I will hold on till now. For now, we will have Mr. Richmond Frimpong from the Land Holdings Group of LMI to give us a 5-minute submission and his take on that. So, Mr. Frimpong, if you are available, you're with us. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Richard. Can you confirm if you can see my slides? Brief one.
Yes, please. We can see your slides. Yeah.
All right. So basically, for us at the LMI Holdings Group, our effort or our concentration is on how we can help as many industries as possible to deliver on the industrialization agenda. And most importantly, when we are the center of the world, I mean, there's nothing more we could do as far as our position is concerned, particularly in a time where we are also the place where the Continental Free Trade Area is headquartered. So for everyone listening to us, the good news is that this great initiative is a Ghanaian initiative, and we are committed to making it work. Basically, the LMI Holdings is a Ghanaian group that concentrates on 4 critical anchors. One is construction, the other is industrial and commercial, land development, and then we have logistics as well as utilities. And all of them are merely just driving the continent and Ghana towards our industrialization agenda. At the moment, we are the largest developer of industrial parks in the country. And I mean, I must even say we are probably taking some lead in the space in West Africa, and we are hoping to lead even furthermore across the continent. At the moment, there are 2 industrial parks we manage and play the role of developer. One is a thermal-free zones, and we handle 70% of that enclave. And that side of the park is called the Meridian Industrial Park. And then we are also the sole developer of the Dawa Industrial Zone, which the pharmaceutical chamber spoke so great about as far as the things we provide are concerned. One good thing about the parks we manage is that aside the benefit of litigation on land acquisition and things like that, that were earlier on cited as catalysts for industrialization in any special economic zone by both GIPC and the Ministry of Trade, as their representative spoke, is that in any of these spaces that we manage as industrial parks, we make access to power, to water, to high-speed internet, to water treatment, and even more in terms of road, asphalted road, products for civil works and engineering in case you want to do the factory and you need some assistance. And at the moment, even we are bringing a complementary value of building an entire standalone city that is going to complement the residential side of every business. Over the years, we have been able to provide this service, and for all the blue chip global industries and manufacturing companies that are cited in these 2 different parks, it has brought in a little over 3.4 billion in terms of FDIs, and the exports that have emanated from these spaces, particularly the ones in Tema, which constitute the free zones and enclave, have done a little over 5.4 billion in exports. And let me say that examples of same are what I'm sharing here with the likes of the Cargills, the Barry Calibos, the Simaps, the Agilities and Co. are all situated in the parks that we manage, and that is an amazing thing. It brings complementarily the jobs that it comes along with, just to support not just Ghana and the government of Ghana, but to support the industrialization drive, the continental free trade conversations of the continent. Another complementary thing we do is the logistics side. Usually when these companies and these firms begin to identify and locate places and spaces where they can start their industries, sometimes they need other things in addition to utility. And one of the critical things we do as well is our sister companies providing warehousing spaces, so that as they mount up and as they walk to building their factories, issues about warehousing spaces are not problems. And we have in excess of 250,000 meters square. And then we have, I said earlier, a energy capacity of about 130. And then we also have water distribution systems, among others. As I speak now, we are working on even more services to make this thing work. And one of the things we are looking at doing is to make sure that there is alternative supply of power. And so we've started working on an alternative power source aside the one we provide currently through our subsidiary company. And we are looking at doing solar farms, among other things. And this is one of the places you can't mix. If you are watching or listening to us anywhere in the world, and you are looking for a place to connect, a place to set up your industry. And we are even making sure that as far as possible, because these two locations are closer even to the ports, we are doing further connections aside the Tema port all the way to Ouagadougou through the Debre enclave and the Mpakadan spaces to make sure that logistically transportation inland is not a problem for anybody who would want to do any of these services in terms of exports. And so I want to tell everyone watching, particularly if you are not even an industry and you want to contribute to making this a reality, we are bringing on board as many brokers as possible. We call investor brokers, who can introduce other investors who want to site their industries in Ghana to join our network of investor brokers. And it can be the chambers, it can be individuals, it can be registered brokers, property dealers, and all into our amazing network of brokers. And you just have to call our number 0552 03 000 as it is showing on the slide. And when you do, or even an email, when you do, we reach out to you, we sign a broker form with you. And actually, for those who join and come on this platform from today, we are meeting all the brokers tomorrow, and we are giving them special commission and special discount packages so that we can bring as many as we can to leverage on the industrialization agenda of Ghana and then the continent at large. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richmond. Thank you for bringing us such wonderful packages and showing us the things that you're doing as a private entity in partnership to move the industrialization agenda. Without wasting much time, let me touch on some of the questions that have popped up so far. Matthew Abongo is asking, and I believe this one goes to Madam Nyarko and then also to Dr. Asiedu. So Madam Nyarko and Dr. Asiedu, Matthew Abongo is asking that as a startup, what kind of investment is most appropriate for them to invest in? That as a startup. That's from Matthew Abongo. So Madam Nyarko, the floor is yours.
Yeah, hello, thank you. So usually, I usually will not answer this with a straightforward answer as to this sector or that sector, because it also depends on your capital and then your area of expertise, because some kinds of investments require huge capital. So for us as a startup, depending on your interest and which areas you want to go, then we can really say, okay, you can go this way or that way. But usually, I know that usually people would want to go into like agro processing, like adding value to the little things we produce, like the juices and other stuff. But for me, I think it still depends on what expertise. So if that person can be really specific by saying that this is my expertise and this is what I intend to do, what do you suggest? And that will be easier to answer than that broad, vague question.
All right, I get you. Thank you very much, Madam Nyarko. There's also a contribution from one Mr. Kwame Kufu to you, to all the panelists, and especially Dr. Asiedu and Madam Nyarko. He says that a successful manufacturing sector requires a thriving primary sector. And then the FDI statistics since 2013 shows that the agricultural sector is struggling with regards to FDI. So perhaps unattractive for FDI. That's what he suggested. Maybe perhaps the agri sector is unattractive for the FDIs. Then he says the capacity and the productivity of the local agri sector is abysmal. That's what he is putting out there. That's what he says. And he says this condition makes the manufacturing sector import dependent. This model is unsustainable and not beneficial to the country. So the government must pay attention to creating, let me scroll down, to basically what he's saying is that agriculture is not important, it's not really attractive to the FDIs, and that the government must do something about it to ensure that the manufacturing sector is not export dependent. Dr. Asiedu, what's your take on that?
Yes, in relation to this, the government, in addition to the establishment of the parks that are aforementioned already, the government, with assistance of the African Development Bank, is also establishing an agro-processing zone in the Busa area or in the northern part of Ghana. Yeah. And with this, an initial, to establish a park, there's a need, a feasibility to select a firm to undertake a feasibility study and come out with a master plan of an agro-processing zone in the northern region to take advantage of the raw agri products that we have in the northern sector. We are talking about the soya beans, we are talking about the maize, the rice, how this could be processed and take advantage of our Sahel region. Because most of these products, normally people bring them all the way from the south to the north. So when we have a manufacturing processing plant within this park, then the raw material will have a ready market, and then we'll have a ready technological center that will process it and be able to export it to the neighboring Sahel region. In addition, under the Eastern Corridor Development Project being undertaken by the Ministry of Roads and Highways, another feasibility study is also ongoing to study along the route from Tema Motorway Runabout all the way to Kulungugu. Where will it be possible to site other such agro-processing industries? So these are some of the plans that government are able to put in place to enhance our manufacturing sector within the agri area.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Asiedu. So this is what governmental efforts in attracting FDIs into the agri and the manufacturing side, right?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, Dr. Japon, can I add to what Dr. Asiedu said?
Please do.
Yeah, as Dr. Asiedu said, in terms of agro-processing, a lot of things are going on, but also on the cultivation side, there are a lot of government initiatives that are going in place to ensure that enough raw materials are produced for industry. And one of those flagship projects is the Planting for Food and Jobs, where farmers are being encouraged with the support of fertilizers and seedlings and other agri extension services to ensure that a lot of cultivation goes on for industry. And as one of the projects that we also are promoting for investment is an irrigation project, where an investor could come in to ensure that there's those extensive irrigation projects in most of these areas where irrigation is a problem, especially for rice and other food crops that need constant water as well. And currently in our land bank, to solve the issue of land for large-scale production, we have identified some private individuals who are willing to give out their land for such large-scale cultivation to ensure that enough raw material for industry is available. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And then this is also coming from Jeremiah Cranton. So Mr. Jeremiah Cranton is stating that what is the process of fast-tracking FDIs without going through the Herculean demotivating processes? And he goes aside to say, aside the delay, the suffering that almost 30 to 50% of investors or potential FDIs go through with regards to relevant stakeholders, both legal and illegal. What are the processes for fast tracking this? So this also goes to yourself, and then Mr. Asiedu, Dr. Asiedu, I beg your pardon, as well. Please.
Doc, do you want to go or I should start?
Yeah, okay. Madam Nyarko, you can start.
Okay, so I understand that the system is not perfect, and that is the main reason why GIPC does a lot of collaboration with other institutions to ensure that all these bottlenecks are dealt with. Also, the Ministry of Trade actually is doing a lot of business regulatory reforms to ensure that processes for acquiring licenses and other things are streamlined through a one-stop shop process. And that is ongoing, and that is the reason why even with Registrar General's Department, you could do your registration online and you wouldn't have to be physically in their building and other things. And so I didn't get the name of the person who asked the issue, but we are really seriously engaging to ensure that this issue is trashed. I would encourage you to involve GIPC in your issues as well, so that we'll see how best we can assist. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Nyarko. There is an anonymous one also, which is asking that what are the measures that we've put in place to curb companies taking undue advantage of the tax and various incentives. That is to say, for example, after the 5 or 10 years, the company folds up and re-registers as a new company. So this also goes to you.
Yeah. For this one, I think that this is an issue GRA, the Ghana Revenue Authority, is actually serious about. And I believe we are all aware that the Vice President is also very serious about this. And the main reason why now TIN numbers are being issued to everyone, even at the point of registering your company, and the fact that we are linking a lot of our biometric ID cards to these TIN numbers to ensure that we'll be able to track these kind of things that usually happen. Because I think it does happen and we are unable to track them because it is difficult to identify individuals along the chain. But as these things are streamlined and as the tax reforms are going on, we believe that we would be able to cross this hurdle over time. But like, you are all businessmen, and you know how businessmen find ways of avoiding these things as loopholes are created. So whilst we are trying to reduce those loopholes or try to close them, we believe we'll get there one day.
Thank you, madam. And there's another one for Richmond. So that's for as the private developer, as the people spearheading, organization spearheading. We are in this period of COVID. How has it really affected FDI inflows and your quest to bring in FDIs into the center of the world? And also, how has your partnership together with the government to tackle this been so far?
Well, thank you, Richard. Maybe first, I want to say to the teaming investors who are worried about the difficulty sometimes when onboarding with regulatory passes and tax exemptions and a number of things, that is why you need to leverage on some of these platforms you have created. For example, if you decided to choose a spot in the Dawa Industrial Zone, we hold your hand and we just make sure we leverage the connections between the GIPCs of the world and the Ministry of Trade and the desk that are supposed to help make things easier. And so it makes almost everything easy in terms of your acquisition, in terms of your power and other utilities. And aside that, we give investor services where we hold your hands to the relevant agencies that can support you. To COVID, I'm here to pick any industry or any arm of business globally that has not had any consequence in terms of business upward trajectory. So we have also had our share. Investors that were originally earmarked to start their setups have delayed and according to plans because a number of things changed. And so it's just delayed in terms of the pace of setting up and the pace of FDIs in the volumes we're looking for. But thankfully, with the introduction of the vaccination efforts and with Ghana's effort at driving the opening up for businesses, GIPC leading that Ministry of Trade complementing, saying it's almost like we are back to business, and the spark up is beginning to show light, and we are really open for business. You don't really need to even come physically if you are not in Ghana to check out and to sign up for an industrial enclave. Our team would give you a virtual experience. You can do everything almost online, and from the word go, you can start setting up your business in real time. So we are up for business. The effect of COVID is crowding out gradually, and we are good to go at any time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Richmond. And please, apologies to everyone watching. We've gone over our scheduled time by a minute and by 2 minutes as I speak right now. And we're wrapping up with the last question. Please, apologies from the UKGCC, from us all, the organizers, please. Mr. Ameka, please, this one goes to you. And this question is coming from a publication that was issued on the 20th of September. That is just this Monday. And it, My Joy Online, for example, it says that Ghana is the 4th most attractive labor market in sub-Saharan Africa with regard to what? The pharmaceutical industry. According to the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, that's UNESCO, and Fitch Solutions Research, it says that we are the 4th most attractive. So how are you planning as the pharmaceutical chamber with regards to pharmaceutical industry? You are the 4th most attractive in the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. How are you planning to capitalize on this to attract or connect FDIs into this center of the world, into Ghana?
Thank you very much. We are, because one, we have a strong regulator, that's the Food and Drugs Authority. Currently, in the whole of Africa, we are second in terms of regulation. And as such, our products are attractive all over. Most countries, so what we are trying to do at the moment is to leverage on that, produce more, and also supply to the neighboring countries. What we are also looking at is the institutions of training, where we will collaborate with them to be able to train more skills to feed the pharma sector, to be able to produce more for distribution to the sub-region.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's great. That's great. And Mr. Ameka, a follow-up to that is that it says that you have the high urbanization rate and then also the pool of workers available to choose from. How do you leverage these two? I will come to, this question goes to Mr. Ameka, and it also goes for, so he will tackle it from the pharmaceutical aspect. I will also come to Richmond and Madam Nyarko with regards to how we are harnessing this. This is like a recent thing. Today's 22nd. This thing popped up on the 20th. And that's coming from the UNESCO and the Fitch. And we are trying to do, what we are trying to do right now in this seminar is to try to get, connecting FDIs into the center of the world. So, Mr. Ameka, how are you leveraging the labor force?
Doc.
Yes.
Hello, Doc.
Yes.
Hello, Doc. Before Mr. Ameka comes in, actually, government in coming out with a new policy for the industrial development of the country with the special economic zone incentives. Let's take Tema. Tema was a village till our first president Nkrumah sent industries there. And now Tema has become a megapolis. In the same way, when you take a fishing village, Shenzhen in China, it was a small fishing village, but with the industrial parks around that place, now it's a metropolitan community with over 2,000 industries within that enclave. That is what Ghana wants to achieve. It wants to redistribute the manufacturing sector, not only within Tema and Accra, but in the all other regions of Ghana. That's why we are targeting all the 60 regions, but in phases. We'll tackle Kumasi, from there we'll move on to secondary, the north, and government is not doing this on its own, it's partnering the private sector. Government, with assistance from the World Bank, is also establishing a viability gap fund that will assist the private sector with the needed finances to put in the needed infrastructure that they wouldn't have got finance to do such things. So these are some of the things government is putting in place to help collaborate the private sector initiatives in this agenda that we are all in, to see Ghana becoming an industrial hub within the sub-region.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asiedu. We really appreciate your time.
Yes,
right, Mr. Ameka,
taking
yes,
it from there, because I was going to mention some few things, but I think I've said it all. Because even though we have a lot of use in the urban centers and other things that we can engage for production, you know, pharmaceutical is quite technical area, and that needs more skilled personnel to be able to employ. Currently, most of the universities that we have, or technical universities that we have, are not training to feed the factory. So that's the biggest challenge that we have. For instance, if there's a problem with my air conditioning system and other things, currently you have to go outside the country to bring an expert to fix the problem, because even those that are currently doing their constructions and other things, they are bringing in expatriates to do the construction, the architectural works and other things. We don't have such skills within. Even the architectural works that needs to be done for the factory, most often you have to engage an expatriate to do the architectural work for, because we don't have more pharmaceutical architects in this country. So these are some of the challenges that we have as an industry.
All right. Thank you very much. And Richmond, your take on that?
Thank you, Richard. I think for us, we've leaped a bit ahead of this curve, and because we know that Ghana is getting really positioned in terms of FDI attraction, we are making it very easy, and we are giving like a combo kind of services in industrial park management and development. So you don't need to think about just acquiring the piece in any of our enclaves. The moment you buy a space, for example, in Dawa, you get access to electricity connection, you get access to water, you get access to everything that makes your work go. So you don't need to think about anything. That makes us a little bit more competitive to the likes of the Moroccos, the Egypts, and then even the Ethiopias of late. The second thing we are doing is that we are taking our message into those spaces where industrialization is a bit advanced and is hitting the turn-up curve. If you look at a place like Ethiopia, a big challenge recently because of some political difficulties they are having, and investors are beginning to look at other alternative spaces that they can have an advantage. The last one is leverages. The leverages we are putting together with the Continental Free Trade Area, with GIPC, with the Ministry of Trade, and with business chambers in the other parts of the world, where we can get investors to sign up to our industrialization package through the industrial parks and industrial zones. So this is what we are doing to make sure that we cash in on the quick wins for the position Ghana is shocking.
Thank you very much, Richmond. So once you are still on the floor, this question, there are a number of questions for you. So let me just put some of it to you before you leave. It says, we hear of eco-industrial parks or eco-industrial zones, developments now. That's the new trend. So it's implying that just plain industrial parks are more or less a thing of the past. So what is the Dawa Industrial Zone doing to catch up with this eco-industrial park thing?
Amazing, and that's a good question from your participant. I mean, Dawa is now becoming a multi-purpose, multifaceted industrial enclave, and so we have done specific demarcations for categorized industrialization. And so we have spaces for this category and some other spaces. So it's more or less not just a plain industrial enclave, but it's like a 360 industrial enclave that takes care of the new direction of even sustainability and greening and things like that. So we are ahead of that also, and we have made allocation in the 20,000 acreage. That is why there is now even an extension of creating an entire city up to about 20,000 additional spaces for Dawa to become a global center for industrialization.
All right. Thank you very much, Richmond. Madam Nyarko, this is for you. This question is that it goes like this. Is it possible to have the incentive packages for the industrial zones published into like a document and made available online? Is it possible? Because you spoke about incentive packages for all these areas and things like that. Someone is asking whether it's possible to have it available and published into a document, but that's available online. Madam Nyarko, please.
Yeah, I think it's available on our site, www.gipc.gov.gh. It's available there, but if it happens that you can't find it, just let me know. I would give the link to you so you share with the person.
All right, please. Thank you very much. That's comforting. That's comforting. And then also it says, is there or are there any financial programs for incentives potentially, like for example, manufacturers and investors like that? Are there any financial institutions involved? Are there any financial programs for such?
Okay, so most of the time, when people hear of GIPC, they are thinking probably we are offering some funds for investors, but ours is to link the investors. So what we do is, if you have a project that needs financial assistance, you can discuss with us. We'll profile the project and get investors who are interested in it to also finance it. And once in a while, we have some institutions coming to us for such partnership as well. So depending on what we have or what is known to us, we do the linking. So that person can link up with us. We would look at his project and see if we have others who are interested in it, and then we'll do the matchmaking.
So you match them with the financial institutions then?
Yes, who have also expressed interest. So it's not like something that is obvious, but it could be possible.
Okay, thank you, Madam Nyarko. And then this one goes back to you, Richmond. It says, for example, how is the DIZ or the Dawa Industrial Zone addressing the issues of social equity and environmental protection? So Richmond, how is the Dawa Industrial Zone addressing social equity issues and environmental protection issues?
I think one of the things we have done well to do as an industrial park developer is to learn from the gaps we had when we were partnering the government in developing Ghana's foremost industrial park with the Meridian Industrial Park in the tema-free zones. And so issues that bordered on social equity and even which one was that? The second one, social equity and what?
And social equity and environmental protection, please.
So issues bordering on those were captured and we've picked them up. So for example, before a company comes in to set up, one of the ticks in our checklist for us is to get the company to pass our industry allocation checklist. And one of them critically is for the EPA to certify you to make sure that we are on course with the approvals we need for you to start producing what you have to produce. And there are specific demarcation. There's a textile, there's a food processing, there is a steel fabrication. So based on which category you fall in terms of the industry you want to put up, we check mark you against environmental protection for them to pass you for any of these things. And then in terms of social equity, we work with the chiefs and the opinion leaders and then even the government as we embark on this industrialization drive to make sure nobody is left out in this agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now this question, it's cutting across, and that will be my last one for today, and we will bring it to a close. So it says that very small or local companies, they fear the overtaking of big multinational companies, taking over the opportunities available in Ghana. So small local companies are not, will not be able or are not able to compete fairly. How will the development of economic or industrial zones help local production or local companies compete? How will this help? So
well, let me start. I'm sure Evelyn will come in.
Yeah.
If you heard Evelyn earlier, she even mentioned that GIPC is not for organizations that are non-Ghanaian, but really even Ghanaian companies have some leverage they can play when they register with GIPC. Let me put that aside. I'm sure Evelyn will speak to it. But the competitive edge we are giving Ghanaian enterprises, even in the Dawa industrial zone, is the benefit of reduced or discounted costs. So, for example, look at the pharmaceutical chamber. We've entered into an MOU with them, and anybody who leverages a site location in the Dawa industrial zone through the chamber, for example, is definitely not going to pay the same price in terms of acreage like maybe a new organization that came from outside of the country. So there are specific packages to give competitive advantage in terms of the cost of setting up your industries. I'm speaking for myself, when you come to the Dawa industrial zone and you're a Ghanaian company, there is a particular and a peculiar leverage. Another thing is that because this is also driven on the back of government policy, and this government is a bit more sensitive and more proactive on industrialization. We have a relationship with the Ministry of Trade, and we are doing very well to help emerging enterprises that want to upstick their industrialization drive. And we give them a lot of discounts, we give them a lot of packages that do not bring burden. On the side of even investor services, if we realize that beyond all these setup cost reduction efforts, you still need some support, that is when we partner with GIPC and make sure that if they have to connect you to any investor that is interested in your kind of business, they are able to do so. So Ghanaian enterprise, actually, this is the best time to take advantage of the opportunity to become a bigger industry. And Dawa industrial zone is a place to go.
Thank you, Richmond. Madam Nyarko, your take on that, your last words?
Okay, so I think I like Mr. Frimpon's answer, but I would also add that for small-scale industries, there's this company, Ghana Enterprises Agencies. It used to be National Board for Small-Scale Industries. It does a lot of training and it offers a lot of assistance to small-scale industries. And like we always say, Ghanaians, I think we don't really read or we don't really fish for information, because one experience I've had with foreign companies is that they do a lot of due diligence, they do a lot of reading, they do a lot of information fishing, but Ghanaians don't do that. And I will encourage all Ghanaians on this platform to do a lot of this fishing for information, because there are a lot of opportunities out there that we are not taking advantage of. And the Ghana Enterprises Agency is doing so much to support small-scale industries to be able to meet up with those opportunities that the bigger ones also give. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ameka, your last words, please.
Thank you. I must say that sometimes it's good to also merge with other companies to be able to expand and also compete with such companies. Ghana's, unfortunately, most of our companies don't like merger. They don't like partnership. So you'll be there, and at the end of the day, one company will just come and then take over the whole market. That's why we've engaged Kimati and partners to look at how we could establish a special purpose vehicle within the Dawa enclave, apart from even the individual company or individual members of the chamber going into the enclave to produce. So we're going to, so in that case, we can float shares for companies, individual companies or individuals to acquire shares in that SPV and then set up the SPV within the enclave to be able to employ more. So my last way is that we also need to form partnerships to be able to expand and to be able to compete with the bigger companies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ameka. Thank you very much to all our guests and audience, listeners, viewers, those watching us on Facebook Live, those with us here on Zoom, those on YouTube. We really appreciate you. I've learned a lot. There's still more, but we will have to call it a day for today. So I would like to thank Dr. Asiedu in absentia. Thank you for giving us his time, his expertise. Thank you, Mr. Ameka, for the wonderful contributions and your expert opinion. Thank you, Mr. Frimpong from LMI Land Holdings, for your expert contribution as well. And then also to our only lady on the panel, our lovely Madam Evelyn Nyarko, we say great thank you to you, a big one, and we appreciate all the input that you've given us. Thank you very much. So those of us who joined late, please, the program was recorded, so you can go to a Facebook UKGCC page. You can see it there. You can go to YouTube UKGCC, and you can see it there on almost all the social media handles. So please, thank you, and have a wonderful time as we aim to industrialize this country by attracting and connecting FDIs to the center of the world. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you, UKGCC.
You're welcome.
Thank you as well, and all the best to all the participants as well.
Thank you. You're welcome.